Welcome to the Unified Bank Podcast, where we talk about all things financial. I'm here today with U.S. Olympic gold medal swimmer and world record holder Hunter Armstrong. Hunter, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you for having me.
Can't think of a better guest. Hunter actually works with Unified Bank, and we're very fortunate to have him. Hunter, I'm curious. I was talking to your dad several weeks ago, and he told me that when you and your brother were little, it was important to the family that you have a firm understanding of finances and that you had your own bank account at an early age and that you worked at an early age. I'm curious if you can tell our listening audience, just tell us a little bit about what that was like.
Yeah, absolutely. We set up an account when I was little, just to have a place where I could keep everything safe and maybe get a little bit of interest. But, I mean, I've had bonds and...
Really?
Yeah, my grandparents, great-grandparents. So I have bonds that I was given the day I was born. So I've been growing money unknowingly for 21 years, almost 22. But of course, I'd make money with like odd jobs, going to my grandparents and they'd like chopping wood.
So you did that before you were old enough to work? You did just stuff around the house and with your grandparents to make a little spending money and save some of it too?
Yeah, I mean, ever since I wanted to like buy stuff for myself. I still remember the first thing I bought. It was at a Blockbuster.
For those of you who don't know what a Blockbuster is, there used to be these things called videos and DVDs. You used to rent movies.
Yeah, I mean, I know they're not around anymore. Actually, I think there's probably one
be great
somewhere.
And people drive hundreds of miles to visit it.
Yes, it's a museum now. It was a little Bakugan toy. It was $5 on the nose. So I saved up $5, exactly a $5 bill. I was so proud. I walked in there with my chest out, slammed it on the desk, and he's like, that'll be $5.17.
Oh.
And I'm like, oh, taxes.
Wow.
Yeah, that's the day I learned about tax.
So life is so unfair.
Life is so unfair. I worked like 5 years for that.
But he doesn't work anymore. He's a swimmer, an Olympic world-class swimmer, so apparently you don't work. Is that true?
It's not at all true. I mean, I don't work at a desk, but it's a lot more than just the training in the pool, because there's weights, there's yoga, there's nutrition. You have to get a certain number of hours sleep. Like, it is a full-time job. And
plus, you're still a student, correct?
I just finished. So,
okay,
but
okay.
Up till now, I was.
So all through the Olympics, you were balancing school and life and the Olympics.
I did homework. I did a final exam in the Olympic Village in Tokyo.
Nobody thinks of that when we're watching the Olympics. Nobody thinks you're doing a final exam for school.
No, it's 3 full-time jobs that I was doing, because I had a part-time just for extra money, because obviously I have scholarship and all, but I enjoy working. It gives me that break from just swimming all day, every day. So I had a job and then full-time student, like 16, 17, maybe 18 credit hours.
More than most people can handle on their own. It's just that.
Yeah, and then like 3 practices a day, every day.
But fortunately, when you're in the Olympics, there's someone there to take care of everything for you, right? I mean, you get massages and they bring your food and you don't have to do anything.
We do get massages. You were right about that.
One.
We get them whenever we need. There's always a line, though. No, we get taken care of really well. They pay for our flights. Not first class, but, I mean...
Oh, I didn't know that either.
Yeah, no, they pay for our flights to training camp. They set us up in pretty nice hotels, with the exception of our last one.
We were talking earlier about the hotels and the stays, and Hunter led me to believe that the food in these hotels are not necessarily as perfect as you would hope. This is about finances, so I'm curious to tie food in with finances a little bit. But Hunter said that in some of these hotels, the food isn't all that great, so you still have to go out and get your own food. And what's that like? And you've been all over the world. What kind of things have you done and seen, and what has buying food been like?
So Tokyo was a completely different experience. The food in our training camp, Hawaii, was terrible. But they let us they let us go out. We had a little bit more freedom in Hawaii because obviously this was the COVID Olympics.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
So they locked us down, but we were able to go, like, they didn't want us to go to the ocean, but you could go, like, there was a restaurant in the hotel that we went to a lot.
And do they pay for all this, or do you have to buy your own food in that kind of situation?
We get per diem,
Mm-hmm.
but if you spend outside of that, you're out of your own pocket. But the Olympic Village was the best food. We couldn't leave the village because they had security on every building and the exit from the village. If you were caught doing something you weren't supposed to do, they would kick you out of the country.
Wow, out of the country.
Out of the country. You would be back. They'd send me back to the United States.
Wow. So, I jokingly said earlier that Hunter doesn't have to work because he just swims all the time. Hunter was telling me earlier that it seems fun until it's 4:30 in the morning and you have to get up and jump into a cold pool, and there are weights and any number of things that he has to go through, grueling things on a regular basis. But growing up, working, you said you did odd jobs for your grandma and things like that. Do you think that the work ethic that it is required for being an athlete, especially an Olympic athlete, did you learn some of that growing up? I mean, where did you get this willpower?
Oh, man. I'm just really competitive, all stemming from my older brother. Anything that he did, I wanted to be better.
Beginning to see that.
So, I mean, he started in theater, so then I took on theater, and then he started in choir, so I took on choir. He started football. He got me there. I'm not built to be a football player. But swimming, I think I got him beat on this one. So I found my niche.
Well, I'd certainly say you found your niche. I'm curious. We think, we being the public, we think that as an Olympian, you probably determine at an early age that you're going to be an Olympian and you train for it. How old do you think the average Olympian starts and decides they want to be an Olympian? And when did you start?
Oh, boy. So from what I know of our current Olympic team, most of them started around the age of 4 or 5, swimming year-round.
4 years old?
Yeah. So, I mean, they're thrown into swim lessons, but I don't know if they decide they want to be an Olympian at that age, but most of them are training year-round. They dedicate. They're single sport athletes, no extracurriculars. I mean, there are people on OSU's team that were homeschooled so that they could just focus on swimming. But the second part of that, I started training year-round when I was 19.
19. How old were you when you went to the Olympics in Tokyo?
20.
You started working for the Olympics at the age of 19, and you took a gold at the age of 20?
Yeah. It's
Wow.
weird to say. Because I've been swimming, but I never dedicated, I never trained to be an Olympian. Like, I was still in football and choir and theater, show choir. I traveled with our honors choir. Like, I was doing everything I could to fully experience my youth. But it wasn't until the summer leading into my senior year that I dedicated all of my time to swimming. And then COVID hit, and we came back, and I made the Olympics.
What did you want to be before you realized you wanted to be an Olympic swimmer? What was your goal in life?
I always knew that I wanted to do something with swimming. I didn't think I was good enough.
Didn't think I was good enough, and then becomes a world record holder. When you were a kid in Dover, Ohio, which is not very far from us, and we actually have a bank in Dover and in New Philly, you said that you were active in your school swimming program and you swam in the local YMCA. You didn't know at that point that this was what you were going to do? You were just swimming for fun and like every other student?
Yeah, I got the idea about sophomore year of high school that I had to pick whether I wanted to go to college for swimming or football.
And you said you weren't built for football.
No, I'll show you a picture later, and maybe you can put it up for the people watching. I was really, really tiny. I knew it was time to focus on the other sport when our kicker flattened me out.
Understand.
So,
Understand. So since we're talking about finances, I'm curious, when you were a kid, you said you had done odd jobs. What kind of things did you do to make money? And where did you keep your money? Did you hide it under the mattress, put it in a piggy bank, or were you always put it in the bank where it's safe? Just tell us a little bit about that for a younger audience who might be watching.
yeah, so just odd jobs around the house. I could go back to, like, early childhood when, like, hey, wash the dishes, I'll give you a quarter. Like, stuff like that. Go mow the lawn, I'll give you 50 cents. Like, we had a billboard, not a billboard, we had a board on the fridge, and my brother and I would have to, like, we had little tags and a bunch of jobs. So if you wanted to claim the job, you put your initial on it, and you sort of claim it, and you get your money. But later on, when quarters didn't do anything, it was, hey, Grandma, can I come up and, like, chop some wood, clean out the gutters, because I will absolutely climb on the roof of any house.
I'm thinking, I got a house with gutters need cleaned out, and I got a couple quarters. I might just give you a call. Hunter, you said some interesting things that sparked some things in my mind. First of all, your folks were really cheap, giving you a quarter for those things.
That's really, really young, though. Like,
yeah, well, I was 4 years old. I remember hearing the ice cream truck, and I knew I wasn't going to get any money for ice cream from my mom. My grandma just lived up the block, so I ran up to my grandma's house, banged on the door. She came out and asked what I was there for, thought it was an emergency, and I said, I need 30 cents for an ice cream cone, truck's down the road. And she said, if all you did was come here to get money from me, I'm not going to give it to you. Don't ever come here just to get money. And I thought, it's only 30 cents. And she told me if I wanted money, I had to work for it. And actually, that was the beginning of me doing odd jobs for my grandma, pulling weeds, sweeping, things like that. But she always gave me 30 cents because she knew all I really wanted was an ice cream cone. But a quarter? Wow, your folks, they had a heck of a deal.
Yeah, it was. I'm going to do the same thing for my kids.
Excellent. Excellent.
Maybe pay them a little bit more, inflation and all. But
Such a cheapskate.
Well, it taught me at a young age, for as long back as I can remember, you have to work to get what you want.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, I remember waking up before my brother, and I'd go down and I'd claim all of those jobs on the fridge so that I could get the money.
If his brother sees this, he's going to hear that I wanted to do better than my brother in anything, and he's going to hear I took all my brother's jobs.
Yeah, actually, we had a cherry tree outside of our
George Washington story coming up.
outside of our house.
Mm-hmm.
So in the summers, I'd go out instead of, like, watching TV or enjoying summer vacation. I'd go pick the cherries, and then we'd
Wow.
go to strawberry fields, and I'd go pick strawberries, and I'd go around to neighbors' houses and sell them.
What kind of advice would you give to a young person who wants to have money and make money? Would you tell them to work? Would you tell them to start swimming? What would?
Don't start swimming. I mean, it's a great sport. All jokes aside, everybody should know how to swim. You don't have to be an Olympian or world champion. Just know how to survive. Water can be dangerous. So you have to understand the value of money. You need to work for it. I mean, anything worth having isn't free.
I agree.
But what my philosophy now is make enough money that you can invest. So it's way past youth at this point, but my Olympic earnings, my world champs earnings, I'm not going to go out and buy a new car. I'm actually,
Wow, very wise.
yeah, I'm buying and flipping houses. I'm buying.
He's doing that just so he
retail.
can get on the roofs.
Yeah, I just want to climb. Man, if my coach heard that, he'd kill me.
Yeah, well, hopefully the coach isn't watching. You mentioned the value of money. Do you remember the first time you actually placed value on something and what that was when it was, you had talked about the toy you bought at Blockbuster. Was that the first thing you realized what value was? Or was a quarter always good?
Ah, man, that was the first thing that I worked for. Because I worked for that $5, and I went and we went to get a movie or a video game or something there, and I saw it on the shelf. I'm like, I want that. So then I went home and started doing jobs. I don't know how I got the $5, but it was mine. I earned it, and I showed up and I bought the thing that I wanted.
Did it mean more to you that you earned that money?
Absolutely, it did.
So I'm starting to think that there's something about growing up in small town Dover, and there's something about your parents that played an active role in making you the person you are. I was telling you earlier that in my past profession, I've had opportunity to work with many celebrities, and there is definitely a prima donna factor that many celebrities have. This man is one of the most down-to-earth and relatable people I've ever met. Why did that not affect you? Is this all coming from just growing up in a nice all-American hometown?
I would like to think so. Relating to other athletes that I know on the Olympic team and other celebrities that I've made contact with, the ones that I like are all small town. I wish I could give you more, but I only know my own experience, and what I attribute my personality and characteristics to is being raised in Dover.
Well, I think you're definitely on the climb. I think we've watched in this past year, we've watched you do more and more and more. And to think that this has only been since 2019 with you, I think you're going to continue growing and probably going to pull more and more world records. So if you could stay the way you are, that would just be so amazing. But let's get to some meat and potatoes about finances. How do you still have a checking account? Do you do direct deposit? Do you use a debit card? I mean, do you do the same things that everybody else does, or does somebody walk behind you with a checkbook and pay everything for you?
No, I pay everything out of pocket. I do keep a lot of cash in an undisclosed location.
It's in his sock.
It is. It's under my mattress. But, one thing that I also learned from my dad, who grew up with sales, like that was his thing, the power of cash. Like, it's one thing if you're going to try to negotiate with somebody, be like, oh yeah, I'll get it to you within 30 days for $2,500. Yeah, you can have $2,500 in a month, but here's $1,500 right now.
Oh, I see. Hunter, we did a podcast not too long ago, fiscal literacy piece, where we were in an 1804 general store, and we talked about how things were bought then. And believe it or not, most things in 1804 were bought with credit. You didn't have cash. So those who had cash certainly were able to bargain. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back with you.
I'm Hunter Armstrong, U.S. Olympic gold medalist and world record holder. No matter where I go nationwide, my Unified Freedom Debit MasterCard allows me to access my money and pay no ATM fee. Unified reimburses the fee. Always by your side, we are unified. Member FDIC.
Welcome back to the Unified Podcast, talking with Hunter Armstrong. And on the break, we were talking about food because I like to eat. Apparently, this guy likes to eat. This guy also burns more calories in a day than I have eaten in my life. So food's important. We also were talking a little earlier about the value of money. And now that you're traveling around, not only around the country, you're traveling around the world. So you're finding out firsthand that the value of currency is different from one country to another. And since we are talking about food too, tell me a little bit about what food's like in these exotic places, and how do you pay for it? Does it cost the same everywhere?
So in proportion, a little bit, but the U.S. dollar is much more valuable than the places I was in. I can't speak for Tokyo because everything was sort of taken care of there, but we spent 8 days in Croatia and 12 days in Budapest. So Croatia was far cheaper. Like $1 US was like $10.
Wow.
In Croatia. Budapest was a little less, but the food in the hotel in Budapest was awful. Absolutely terrible. But that allowed me to order out, and man, like I got steak, salmon, dessert, appetizers, drinks, like $30.
Wow, you could stop and get burgers and fries here for $30.
Yeah, and that was including a delivery fee.
Wow. So you say Croatia and Budapest. What were you there for? That wasn't the Olympics. Why were you there?
World Championships. So
I wanted to slip that in. World champion Hunter Armstrong.
oh boy.
Yeah, sorry.
No, so the schedule's kind of messed up now because of COVID, but it's supposed to be Olympics every 4 years and World Championships every other year. But because
Sure.
because Olympics got moved to 2021, that moved Worlds 2021 to 22, and then they decided to keep Worlds 2023 still there. So I had Tokyo last year, Worlds this year, Worlds next year, and then Paris.
So Paris, when do you start training for Paris?
August.
August of this year?
August of this year.
That's a long time to practice.
Yep.
Wow. So what do you have any predictions? What are you going to do in Paris?
Oh boy. Hopefully by that time I'll pick up a couple new events that I haven't messed around with too much. Hoping to at least be a 2-time world record holder, have a couple world championships under my belt. I need more experience internationally.
Yeah, you were saying earlier that many Olympians, at least in your sport, start at the age of 4. You started at 19, so I would think experience you're kind of shy on, but even at that, a world record. Do you remember what it felt like? Many of us have seen the picture in the from in the pool when they announced, but what went through your head?
Yeah, man. So I honestly couldn't tell. I don't remember anything.
We
from
remember
that
more
race.
about it than he does.
I remember touching the wall and seeing a 23 and just being so excited.
Wow.
And then seeing WR pop up next to your name. Unbelievable.
So not only world record holder, but an America's record, the American record, and the U.S. record. So it's pretty impressive. We at Unified have been very fortunate to get to work with Hunter Armstrong. Hunter, I will admit, when we were first going to meet you, I remember thinking, this is going to be difficult. This guy's going to be so full of himself. You've been so wonderful to work with. You certainly represent the Unified way, and we appreciate and we value the relationship we have with you. And check this guy out. Look him up on Wikipedia. Actually, you can find all kinds of stuff about this guy on the internet.
Don't look me
Most
up.
of it's good.
My Wikipedia picture's terrible. My friend uploaded it.
His Wikipedia picture is terrible, and I should show it to you. So thanks for stopping by, Hunter, and we wish you all the best, absolutely all the best.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thanks for watching the Unified Podcast.